Here we go. Hey, what's poppin'? My name is Zach Goulet, and I gave up social media for 1 whole year. This means I was off Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that for 12 whole months. It was tough. And along the way, I was making video journals explaining all that God was doing month to month in my life. Now, before we get all personal and deep with this being the last video, here are a few fun things that went down with me and my fam bam in the month of December. So like most families, the Goo Crew fam bam's favorite time of year is without a question Christmas. And getting to see our son experience his second Christmas and all of the awe and wonder in his eyes, what a blessing. And of course, no Christmas is complete without a trip to Silver Dollar City. Let me just say, we had a blasty blast even though we froze our booties off. It was a little bit chilly. But man, getting to spend time together as a family, and then of course seeing Emmett just be in awe of all the Christmas lights, I gotta say, it was one of my favorite trips to Silver Dollar City of all time. And when we introduced Emmett to the singing tree, I don't think he blinked once, if I remember correctly. It was just a big month for Emmett. Homeboy got his first haircut, and oh my goodness, it was all hands on deck. We had the barber cutting, Grandma had Cocomelon on, and Mommy was trying to capture some photos of the moment. It was pretty epic. Afterwards, here's him and his grandpa, and in my humble opinion, he has a pretty sweet Luke Skywalker hair look going on, which as a Star Wars nerd, I'm digging it.
May the Force be with you.
So the last thing that I'll share with you guys is I found a new band that I cannot stop listening to. Their name is Young Oceans, and as if the name isn't dope enough, I think their music is even cooler. Their latest album is called Subjects in Motion. They have such a unique sound, so if you want a good Christian band to listen to, I highly recommend go give them a check out. And now, my friends, without further ado, I present to you the last goal update video of the social media sabbatical. I can't believe we're here. The last one, the last video. It seems like a year ago I was preparing to lay down social media for a while. And now I'm about to enter back into social media. It's so weird. In October of 2021, God gave me 7 goals as I was preparing to enter into this sabbatical. And at the time, I didn't understand these goals. On top of that, God gave me a verse that would be the theme for these goals as I went into this social media sabbatical. And that verse was found in Psalms 42, and it was the first 2 verses. As a deer pants for water, so my soul thirsts for you. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. As I look back, as we're about to end 2022, and I look at these goals that at one time I didn't fully understand, I look at these now and think, during the pursuit of these 7 goals, God was molding me, pruning me, growing me, making me uncomfortable, bettering me. One last time, let's revisit those goals and give you an update on them. So I knew early on in 2021 that social media was consuming more of my life than I wanted to admit. Whenever on Sunday, because I have an iPhone, I would get an update and it would say you were on your phone this many hours and this many minutes a day. And I would think, like, how did I have this much time to begin with to spend that much time in a day on social media? And I'm just like, I don't know. I knew something needed to change. And as I was praying, that's when God gave me the idea for this sabbatical. And the first goal he gave me, refocus on the important things. This is one I realized very early on. And it's something that even though the sabbatical is ending, it's something I want to continue to focus on as I go into 2023 and beyond that. The important things are simple when you really think about it. Your relationship with Jesus, your relationship with your family and friends. And I think along the line, I forgot that. I mean, it sounds simple, even cliche to say that, but it's true. I had gotten so busy, like having a phone between me and life. And when I removed that, I could literally not just focus on the important things, but actually see them maybe for the first time in a long time. Social media is such an easy distraction, right? And you can have a healthy relationship with it, with balance and whatnot. But for me, it was a struggle. And it didn't take any longer than January for me to realize like I had lost sight of the important things. And over these last 12 months, I have been in every moment I could possibly be in. I have spent more time with my family, gone on more dates with my wife, hung out with my son, like spent time with my family and friends. Like it has been such a fulfilling year. And I'm glad that I was able to focus on those things and not allow myself to be distracted by my phone, by being on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all these different avenues of social media. I am truly so grateful that God has allowed me, it reminded me what those important things are and to keep those at the forefront. And so I can honestly say there's going to be a healthy time balance as I go into this new year, and I'm not going to continuously have something between me and the important things in my life. Continuing to pursue my relationship with Jesus Christ and grow that relationship. And in turn, my relationship with my family and my friends are going to naturally fall into place because of that. So this is a goal that is going to go with me long past this sabbatical. Refocus on the important things and remove whatever's stopping you from seeing that. In 2022, early in 2022, my family and I actually came back home to our home church. We had been attending Bloom Church in Branson, and we love that church to this day. We stay in contact with the people of that church, still pray for the students and the leadership there. We seriously love this church, but we knew God was shifting our family after we had Emmett. And so we were obedient. We came back to our home church, and in that, we were trying to discover what does God have next for Emily, Emmett, and myself. And to be honest with you, even as we prepare to go into 2023, I'm still figuring that one out. But what I do know is this. We are serving where our giftings may lay. Like what I mean by that is Emily, her gifting is singing and leading. And so she's on the worship team. She's serving with excellence. And me, my gifting is relating with the youth and the next generation that is going to be the leaders of our church one day. Like that's my passion and my gifting is connecting with them. So I've been trying to serve with excellence to the best of my ability in that area. And Emmett, I'm already seeing his gifting start to formulate a little bit and blossom. And I cannot wait to see how God continues to grow this little dude who I feel like is going to change the world. But I know if he sees mommy and daddy serving with excellence in their area, that he's going to do the same, especially if we're encouraging him. So to be honest with you, I feel like God is positioning the Goo Crew up for something special. But I don't know exactly what that is. So with this goal, I'm still trying to discover what exactly this something new is going to be for my family. But what I do know is we will serve with excellence where we're at until he says it's time. And so we've already experienced some new this past year in 2022, but I know that God is not done yet. And one thing I know is wherever he wants us, wherever he places us, and whatever he calls us to do as a family, we will serve with excellence as we discover what he has next for us. Simple and plain. This one has been arguably the hardest goal for me. Okay, so I've shared this with you guys in, I think, pretty much every video throughout this sabbatical. But pursuing my God-given calling has been a very patient endeavor, if you will. For me, if I had my way, I would jump right back into ministry. I really would. Full-time ministry. I know God has given me a calling for that. And something I didn't understand is so many times we had opportunities to go into full-time ministry. And when we would fast and pray about it, God would say, not yet. And I began to get discouraged, to be honest with you. I'm like, okay, God, you've given me a calling, but why am I not in it right now? If there's one thing I've learned, and any seasoned believer has learned, it is that God's timing is always so much better than our timing. And, I've been meeting with mentors every month. We usually try and meet once a month. And I've been try to be very faithful in this. And in that, they have really helped me in this area. And kind of like I described in the last goal, until God places you at the right time where you're supposed to be, serve with excellence. Serve with excellence. And one thing I know is that in His time, I will go back into full-time ministry. And just like all these stories we read about in the Bible of people that had to wait to do what God had called them to do, it's always at the perfect time. Maybe not our perfect time, but His. I think there's a lesson to be learned in that, is God may give us a calling, but what are we going to do in that waiting time? Are we going to sit there and pout and be upset that we're not in our calling? Or are we going to take that opportunity, which is what it is? That waiting time is an opportunity between receiving the calling and stepping back into the calling as a gift to grow, to better yourself, to better your relationship with Christ, to better your relationship with others, to grow. And that's what God reminded me of this past year when it comes to this goal. Pursue your God-given calling, yes, but pursue me first, Zach. That's what God gave me. And so I will, until it is time for me to go back into full-time ministry with all my heart, with all my ability, with everything I am. I will pursue Him until it's time and make the most usage out of that in-between period. Because when it's time to step back in, I want to be the best version of myself I can be for the youth. So, we'll continue to be patient. We'll continue to be patient. As adults, I feel like the older we get, we lose that sense of childlike wonder and the ability to dream, right? And I never thought, as a kid, I would look at people that would say that and be like, no, I'll never get to that point. But as responsibility kicks in, as you become, a parent and a husband, and you have all these duties and responsibilities, it just naturally you allow it to kind of almost fall away. And so when I got this goal, and I know it's from God because I would never have a goal for myself to dream again. So when God gave me this, it was really interesting to me. And I began to think, okay, what could I dream about? And I shared with you guys in past videos how God used my son to really reveal some things to me in this particular goal. I see my son even now as he's 1.5, and I see him looking at things and experiencing things for the first time. And you just see in his face this childlike wonder. And me and Emily often have the conversation I wonder what he's thinking about, or I wonder what he's dreaming about. And that's when God really began to just kind of poke in my heart and be like, this is what I want for you when it comes to this goal. Ask yourself those questions. What do I want for you, Zach? What can I do in this area of your life or this area of your life? And so it was a slower surrender, if you will, in this goal, lowering my guard and allowing God to really work within me. And I'll be honest with you, in doing that and just lowering my guard and being open to what God may want to share with me, lowering my preconceived mindset, lowering what, the world says is, well, you should do this, not this. I just got rid of all expectation of what I thought and just allowed God to speak to me. And in turn, guys, I seriously have gotten more fresh ideas, not just about ministry, but about like things I want to do with my family, things I want Emmett to experience in the future, like ideas for me in like moving forward with, different side projects I got going, things I would have never thought about a year ago at this time. Like, I catch myself even in the middle of a work day, just like not daydreaming, but literally dreaming about, okay, if I could do this impossible thing, man, then I could do this and that. And I begin to see God make the impossible more reachable than he ever has. So I have allowed my mind to continue to dream, allowed my heart to really be open to what God may want to speak to it. When he speaks something into it, I'm like, okay, what could we do with this idea, with this fresh thought? Like, I don't even know how to fully describe it, because it's something I feel like I've not had in a long time, is this fresh perspective, this fresh mindset and heart set to dream again. And I think all of us as adults should take time to just do just that, to get alone, get in the quiet, and just dream. Okay, what does God bless me with? What are my strengths? Okay, what can I do with that? What are some unique ways I could do that? And truthfully, I think you'll find that kid inside you again that I discovered. May we never again lose, I know for me, I pray I never again would lose my sense of childlike wonder and awe and dreaming again. So, yeah, take time to dream daily. Try something new. Like, I think I've shared with you guys, I didn't know if this goal would ever get accomplished or if I'd ever get anything on it. Because I think we got halfway through the year and I still had zero clue on what God wanted to do with this goal. And I seriously began to question, like, was this really from God, or is this just some weird thing I thought up of? And so I really, because it was the goal that I felt like it was probably the hardest to get any answers on for me right away, I really began to pray more intentionally about this one. And in turn, God has given me a lot of new things to try, but in particular, here are a few of those things. Like I've already shared with you guys in past videos, I really want to start doing more family vlogs. And I know this seems like a trendy thing to do on YouTube now. That's not why we're doing it. For one, I love the film. I think it's fun. I feel like our family has so many moments that are like genuinely sincere and funny. And not just capturing them for like home movies, but to share with people like this is what a family that honors Christ looks like. And maybe people can be encouraged by that, because I know early on in my walk, there are a few families that I do follow that are Christians on YouTube. Like that encouraged me in my walk. And I thought, man, if I can use something I love to do, like filming, to, I don't know, encourage someone and also honor Christ along the way, why would I not want to do that? And so that's one thing that's new that I want to try moving forward. As well, I've shared that we're going to start the Bless Up podcast, hopefully starting in January. Me and my best friend have been talking about doing this for years, and it's finally fixing to become a reality. We're going to start shooting actually here in the next couple days for our first episode. So I'm like beyond stoked for this. And that's something new, and it's something challenging because I've never done that before. And then the last thing God has really challenged me with is going back to school to further my education when it comes to my walk with Christ, essentially. I have credentials, but I want to continue to grow in those credentials. And so right now, my wife is actually going back to school and to attain her master's. She's actually already nose deep in it, and so what we've decided is we're going to let her finish first, because it does require a lot of work, and if both parents are doing it, it doesn't leave a whole lot of wiggle room for us to hang out with Oak. And so what we're going to do is let Emily finish, and then I'm going to come back after she's done, and I'm going to go back and further my education. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think she said she'd be finished sometime this upcoming year. So I'm sure I'll share more on that. I'm excited about it. I'm excited for the challenge. I'm excited to grow. I'm excited to learn. That's something I never want to stop doing as long as I am here on this earth, is I don't ever want to stop learning. And so yeah, 3 big things God has challenged me on that are new, that I'm going to try. And even if they're complete failures and dumpster fires, which I don't think they are going to be because God gave me the idea, I will have a smile on my face regardless because I tried something new. And there's something to be learned even in failure. And so I'm excited about this. I'm genuinely excited about the things God has got for my family and myself personally in 2023. So yeah, try something new. Went from being the hardest goal to probably the one I'm the most excited about going into this new year as I am about to step back into the social media world. So yeah, 3 big things to look forward to in 2023. Going back to school, the Bless Up podcast, and the Goo Crew family vlogs. All new challenges, all things we will use to honor God and further the kingdom. So I'm amped up about that one. I want to say right away, like, social media can be used for good. As I prepare to come back onto the social media platforms in 2023, that's what I want to use it for. And I've always tried to use it for that in the past. I know several others do too. But for me, break free. It kind of ties in a little bit with my first goal of refocusing on the important things, because in removing the distraction between me and the important things, I also had to confront some things that I had not dealt with. I shared this in past videos where, if something in life was tough, and instead of dealing with it, I didn't realize it until I laid my phone down, but I would immediately put my phone between me and the issue. Not just like literally, but also like spiritually and mentally. And when I removed the distraction of social media where I could no longer have an escape, I had to confront these things head on. And you want to know something? I realized some things about myself I didn't realize I had. Like, for one, I was very snappy early on. Like, just little remarks that were, I want to call them sassy almost. That's what they were. And I'm like, that's not me. And I remember my wife, basically, when I was telling her about this, because for the first few months, I didn't understand why I was struggling. And she's like, well, maybe you are finally having to confront these things that you once had a distraction between, and there's a spiritual battle ensuing. And that was so true. That was so true, because now these things that I hadn't confronted, now they had no place to hide. And so that required some hardcore prayer and spending time with the Lord, and also spending time with my mentors to help me walk through that, because I wanted to break free from that mindset. Here's the thing, there's a lot of good things on social media, but I'm not afraid to say that there are also a lot of toxic things on the social media avenues. And if you're not careful, some of that toxicity can leak into your own life. And I know for me, it had done just that. And I didn't realize it. And so break free for me was removing the distraction, confronting these things head on, getting victory in them through Jesus and allowing Him to walk me through those battles. And honestly, I'm still growing in this area. And I think that'll be a lifelong journey of me growing in this area. But one thing I can say definitively is those things that early on had power over me, they don't. I did break free from them. But it's kind of like driving, At first, because I hadn't dealt with them, they were right there in the windshield, right? God helped me get through them, and so now they're in my rearview mirror. But I got to spend time with God each day to keep going forward and forward. So those things are getting smaller and smaller in my rearview mirror until I can't see them anymore. And so, yeah, break free. This is one that God helped me walk through, and I feel like I've achieved victory, but it's not one that I'm going to let up on. It's one that I want to floor it, if you will, if we're going to continue with the driving analogy, and continue moving forward until the things that were once big things that I was struggling with are now further and further behind me. And so I've broken free, and I'm going to continue to stay free, if you will. And I don't know, maybe that will speak to someone else too, because I didn't know I had things I needed to deal with and break free from until I removed the distraction. So, yeah. Broke free, staying free. This is a goal I was very excited for going into the 2022 social media sabbatical. For me, one thing I knew I wanted to do more of is connect with some of the people I'd maybe lost connection with. And, some of those were old relationships. Some of those were current relationships I had. I just wanted to reconnect in a new way. Like, think, for example, how many times have you gone to like a family outing or you've gone to hang out with friends and there's a point where everyone's on their phone, right? They're on Facebook or Twitter, social media, one of the many avenues you can go on in social media, and it's just like one of those things, it's quiet and everyone's on the phone. And for me, I wanted to make sure and do my best to not be that person anymore. I wanted to almost have a spot where you could just lay your phones and have a conversation with someone. I know for me, we had a lot of people over at our house this past year, where we would just have a meal, we would play games, we would talk, we would, do different things to where you didn't need a phone to entertain yourself. And honestly, I grew in relationships that I've had for years and years with people just simply because I wouldn't have a conversation and then get on my phone. Like, there are times this year I have lost my phone completely, where I've not had to charge my battery and my iPhone for a long time because I'm just not on it a whole lot. Now, I've also had a lot of missed calls and texts that I've had to apologize for missing because I've just not been on my phone a whole lot. But honestly, when I'm around people, my family, my friends, my loved ones, especially my wife and son, I don't want to constantly be on my phone. Now, there's a healthy way to go about being on social media, and honestly, those boundaries and guidelines are still ones I'm creating for myself as I prepare to go back on. But one thing I know is the reconnecting that I did in 2022, I want those connections to only grow in 2023. And so even though I'll be back on social media, I want to get with my friends, and I don't want to be another one of those people on their phones the whole time. I want to start conversations. I want to ask questions. I want to play games. I want to have deep, intimate conversations. I want to laugh. I want to make jokes. I want to do all the things you can't do when you're staring at a phone. And I realized the importance of that in 2022. So I'm going to carry that with me going into 2023. This year, we've, in our household, laughed more than I can ever remember. We've made jokes. Me and my wife have a ton of inside jokes that I may have not had I had a phone in my hand the entirety of the year. I've had incredible conversations with some of my best friends and close loved ones and family. And, it's one of those things that's given me a fresh perspective on how to go about spending time with loved ones. Yeah, there's a connection there that'll always be there, especially if you're family. But what are you doing to grow that connection? And for me, what happened this year is just a small part of what I want to experience moving forward. I want those reconnections to grow and grow and grow. And when I'm with my family, I don't want to be on my phone. And so, yeah, this will be another challenge going into the new year, but it's one I'm excited for. Reconnecting. That one was a special one this year. So as I prepare to come back onto the social media platforms, one thing I want to set in play is guidelines, because I don't want to go back to some old habits that I had or some old preconceived mindsets that I once had. And so some of those boundaries and guidelines that I've set in place, and my wife has helped me create some of these, is, obviously, first off, we have a lot of new projects that I've explained on here that we want to do moving forward. And so to do so, it will require me obviously doing a little bit of work on my phone with editing and filming and whatnot. But what we want to do is at a certain time each day, I'm going to put my phone down and I'm not going to pick it up. Unless obviously there's an important text or call or emergency, something like that. But when it comes to being on social media or doing anything in that regard to these new projects we got going, at a certain time, I'm going to cut it off. Another one of those guidelines that we're going to put into play is if we're around family, I'm not going to be on my phone. I don't want to be one of those people that, like everyone else, is just on their phone constantly. And this will be something I'll have to continue to grow on, because I think it's natural at this point, which I don't like. But I'm gonna do my best. And I'm going to pray that God will, begin to tug at my heart if I begin to falter in this area. And so that's another guideline I want. is when we're around family, phone down. And then another one is if I am in that little bit of time, that time frame where I am able to, spend time on social media. If anyone in my family, if my wife or son, needs something from me or wants something from me, phone down. Period. Not a compromise. Phone down. And so those are a few of the guidelines that are going to be put into play. And honestly, as I've spoke with my wife about, it's one of those things we'll probably have to add and adjust as we go forward just because it's been a year. And now I have a whole new mindset and heart set that God has given me as I, go back onto social media. So we'll continue to be adaptable. And honestly, and this is the truth, guys, I could genuinely do this for another year and not think anything of it. So if it's one of those things, it becomes a distraction again. It's not a big deal at this point for me to lay it down again. It's funny to me because a year ago I wouldn't have ever said that, but I honestly debated doing this for another year, and just not doing social media. I mean, honestly, I'm saving a ton of battery life on my phone anyway, so why not give it another year of rest, if you will? But truthfully, I'm excited about the things that we can use social media for to honor God moving forward. But if it becomes to a point where I'm putting those things before the important things, it's no big thing for me to lay it down again. And I will. And I told my wife to, if I need to, and you see that I'm in this area struggling, tell me, and I'll lay it down. It's that simple for me at this point. I've seen what God can do when I lay those distractions down. So to do it again, to get that kind of intimacy with God, it's a no-brainer for me. And not just that, but to have intimate moments with my family and friends. So those guidelines, I'm going to honor them. Period. No ands if or buts about it. I am hard-nosed in this area. If I've set a guideline or something I said I'm going to do in my life, I'm going to do all I can to honor it. And that's just that. That's how I went into this year saying I was going to do this social media sabbatical. I said, I'm going to do this. And I did it. That's something that God has given me, is if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do my best to do it. Doesn't mean I am perfect in this area, and I know I failed, and I'm going to continue to grow in this area. But I've seen what God can do. And because of that, I'm not willing to go back to the things that stopped me from experiencing those things that God wanted to give me. So moving forward, these are some of those goals, some of those guidelines that I'll have into play. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll continue to adapt and adjust. And one thing I know is I'm not going back to where I was. I refuse. God's done too much in my life to do that. I laid down social media for a year, and you know what? It was very difficult. But I've learned if you want big results in your life, it requires big changes. And for me, I had to lay down one of my biggest distractions in order to achieve some of these big things I wanted in my life. I laid down Facebook. I laid down Twitter. I laid down Instagram. I laid down Snapchat. I laid down all these different things that were at the time very difficult for me to do. But in turn, I have had huge results in my life because of that. You see, our sacrifices that we give up don't return void. There is something to be gained in everything that we sacrifice. If we're giving our time to something, we're going to see a fruit come from that. I would highly recommend everyone try something like this at least once in their life. I'm serious. You don't have to do it for a year per se like I did, but I highly encourage it. Try laying your phone down for a day and not going on social media. Try going on it for a week or a month. You know what? If you're feeling froggy, go 2 months. If you really feel like you want to lean on God to get you through something that you think is impossible, like laying it down for a year, do it. Seriously, do it. I would not trade what God has shown me in this year for anything. And I would gladly lay down social media for another year and another year. I would get rid of it completely to gain the insight, the perspective, the new things God has shown me. It would be easy for me to do that. I would highly recommend that if you followed along and you've been curious about this, try it. It doesn't have to be to the extreme I did, but give it a try. Journal what you've learned. Like, really seek God during the time you normally be on your phone. Because I can tell you this, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And also, more importantly, who God is when you remove the distractions from your life. And maybe just for a moment, focus and fixate on Him. Because what's going to happen is you're going to want more of it. And more of it, and more of it. And things like laying down your phone, it doesn't seem like that big of a sacrifice, after all. Yeah, I would definitely recommend someone do this. This whole thing, this journey, it started off with 7 goals and a Bible verse that God gave me. But now I look back, month to month, and these goals and this Bible verse have become pillars in my life that have grown me, each in their own unique way, closer to God, closer to our Creator. I think so many times us as humans like to, throw our arms open and be like, God, give me more of yourself. Give me more of yourself. Show me more of who you are. But how many times are we actually willing to abandon ourselves completely, lay aside the distractions, and say, God, I open myself to what you want to show me? That's when we really begin to see change. These have been 12 of the hardest months, but some of the most fruitful, rewarding, and amazing months of my life. And I'm still growing. I'm still a work in progress. But one thing I know is the fulfillment that God can offer you when you choose Him, when you choose to lay aside the distractions and say, God, I'm going to pursue you with everything I got. The things that He can show you. Well, you're never going to find that type of fulfillment scrolling through social media. That I can promise you. What a journey it has been. From bless up to worship first to remember why we do this. God has shown me some incredible things this year. And honestly, it's like I'm starting a new chapter in my life, if you will. But I've learned that you can't start a new chapter if you don't turn the page. And for me, I was stuck on the same page for a long time and didn't realize it. If you want something new, sometimes you got to be willing to turn the page on where you've been. Stop looking back. Stop staying complacent and turn the page and try something new. If you follow along with me for the last 12 months, thank you. I truly, with all my heart, love you and appreciate you. These videos have 100% been for me, but if they've encouraged one other person even along the way, then it was worth making all these videos for. God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. God is extremely good. I'll see you guys in 2023. Love y'all.